You are a florist opening a new shop in your city. You want to make online ordering easier by building an app that lets customers order flowers to be delivered to a friend, family member, or colleague. Given the following mockup, build the HTML page that would allow customers to order a flower delivery. Pause the video here. Once you've coded your solution, come back and we'll walk through the solution together. The first thing we want to do is create a form. We'll leave the action blank for now. Since we have two sections, let's create two divs. The first will be the contact information, and the second will be the order information. I'll add a comment above each div to explain which content section it relates to. Let's start with the contact section. We have two columns in this section, so to logically group the form elements, I'll create two more divs inside the contact section, one for recipient details and one for sender details. I'm creating these divs to logically group the different content areas. This will make it more readable and easier to style. Inside the recipient details section, we have heading. I'll set this as an H2, as we should only have one H1 per page. Next, we have a text input with a label of full name. First, let's create the text input. We can use the input element with a type attribute of text to create this. We also need to add an ID to the input so we can reference it in the label. When we create the label element, we must include the for attribute. We set this value to the ID of the text input. This tells screen readers that this input is a full name text field. Next, we have the telephone number input. This is similar to the name text field, but instead of type equals text, we will set type equal to telephone, or tel. Lastly, for this section, we have the recipient's address. This will just be a text input, as there is no type for address. Let's take a look at the browser. We can see all of the elements are rendered in line. This is because labels and inputs are inline elements. To make this a bit more readable, I'll use the break element to push the elements to a new line. Remember that you should keep styling separate from content, so I'd recommend steering away from the break element and creating the page flow with CSS. And if we go back to the browser, we can see things are breaking on each new line. Next, let's create the sender details. Here we have a sender name, which is the same process as recipient name. Then we have an email field, which is also a text field, but the type attribute should be set to email. And if we look at our browser again, we can see sender details are being rendered. Now let's move on to the order section. We'll create the bouquet dropdown first. Let's start with an H2 tag for the order header. Next, we'll create the select dropdown. The select will take two attributes, name and ID. We'll set the name to bouquet type and ID to bouquet select. Then we can add the label. Inside the select, we'll have three options. Each option will have a value. For the basic bouquet, we'll set the value to basic and add the text. We'll follow the same process for the other two options. For the message section, we'll use the text area element and create a label. Lastly, we'll create a checkout button. The type of this button will be Submit. If we head back to the browser, we can now see our delivery form.